Hello, good morning, welcome back to my channel. My name's Louise and this is Louise's Lifestyle. Thank you for joining me. So today I'm doing an update on Piper Nigrum, Piper Chaba and Piper Betel Khasia paan. So I'll start off with the Piper Nigrum. This is the cutting from the parent plant that I had since 2018. So I've done a few videos on the Piper Nigrum. If you haven't seen them, please have a watch first and you'll understand the backstory to this. So this last year was struggling, was really in a bad way. It had stem rot, root rot, scale, and I thought I was going to lose this. And this is the only Piper Nigrum I have now, and this is a Sarawak variety. Although it came from Bangladesh originally, my husband's uncle has a huge plant, and I'm not sure if he imported it from Borneo or somewhere like that. I'm not 100% sure, but his is not typical of your typical Nigrum plant. So Nigrum is peppercorn. There are many different types of peppercorn plants throughout the world. In India, the leaves of the Piper Nigrum are much more heart-shaped, whereas this is sort of, I think they call it ovate. So it doesn't have that like heart, you know, let me show you. Say on the Piper Betel, you've got that heart shape on there. Well, this doesn't have that. It's just an oval shaped leaf. And this variety is not, well, I won't say it's rare, it's very uncommon. And this one, the parent plant that I got, had peppercorns attached, so I know what the peppercorns look like. I've seen my husband's uncle's parent plant covered in these peppercorns, so I know what type of peppercorns it will produce if I'm lucky enough for it to grow peppercorn, that is. So this has been through the wars. I lost the parent plants. This is the cutting, one of a few I've taken. Last year I did do a video and I showed that there were rot issues on there and how I was getting rid of the stem rot using cinnamon. I've since added more orchid bark as the roots have started to develop, and as you can see there, one root has escaped through the hole, looking for water. Now I do water this every other day in the growing season. I've not done that during the winter period because it wasn't actively growing. So all this is brand new growth in the last month. So in the past month it's just put out all this, and obviously the roots are spreading as well. So I do need to upgrade the pot, slightly bigger pots with more orchid bark, and perhaps I'll nip to B&Q today and get some orchid bark and see if they've got any bigger pots as well. Something similar to this. I like the clear pots for these. I can keep an eye on what's happening with the roots. So Piper Nigrum, just watering it every other day. It's in my kitchen, which is facing west, so and there's a bit more humidity in the kitchen, steam, you know, from the cooking, etc. So it seems to like it there. It used to be in this room, and then I moved it in there, and it seems to have settled better there than it when it was growing in this room, or not growing. It wasn't growing very well at all in this room. So that's a Piper Nigrum update. The next one is the Piper Chaba. So I've done a couple of videos on this, which I got back in 2022. Came back from Bangladesh with this plant. This is actually a cutting. The main plant died after lots of trial and tribulation over the main plant. And as I say, I've done videos on that. So this is the cutting. The cutting itself had its own issues. It had root rot, and eventually what I did was when I repotted it, see if that there is the stem, the base of the stem, right out of the substrate, so it's exposed to the air. And the reason being, every time I potted it underground, it turned black. So I've left it out exposed, and the roots have anchored themselves into the substrate. So the stem itself is exposed to the air, completely dried off, but the roots, obviously, you can see the roots there, have made their way into the substrate. And there are some roots, I don't know if it's apparent, but there are some fine roots around the bottom. So Piper Chaba isn't grown for the leaves like the Piper beetle, so people don't grow this. In fact, it's not grown very much in Bangladesh. It's only in a particular region in the Khulna area, and I think some places in Chittagong, which is south of the country. In the north of the country, in Sylhet, they've never heard of Chui Jhal. Don't know what it is. I've asked about it while I was there, if I could buy a plant, and they said, never heard of it. What's that? Don't know what it is. And so it's specialised, and the people who grow it, they grow it for the stems and the roots. They grow in the wild pretty big roots, very, very thick roots, and the stems are like tree, you know, proper sized tree trunks once they get going, you know, once they're established. I doubt if this will ever get to that stage, but as I say, it's a bit like horseradish as well. I've never tasted it, but that's what I've been told. It tastes a bit like horseradish. So Chui Jhal Piper Chaba is making a good recovery, and these three little stems here are going to produce their own vines. So I've got 3 extra vines growing on there. So that's the main, that's the leader. And you might be wondering why I've got it wound around inside this pot instead of climbing. I did have it on a stick, but it just did not want to grow on that stick. It constantly, even though I was tying it onto the stick, it just seemed to want to make its way back down to the pot. So taken the stick out and let it do its own thing, and it's just sort of nicely settled in there. And what I'm doing is I just spray mist this daily underneath the leaves, because keep the spider mite at bay, create a bit of humidity, and water. Stick this under the tap. Tap water here in Manchester's fine, so straight under the tap, let the water flood out. And so I do that every couple of days. And that's the one thing with the pipers I've found is they don't seem to thrive for me in normal compost, even with perlite. Well, some do and some don't. So I found that the orchid bark is best. So even my very big beetle leaf plant over there, this one with the big leaves in the window, that's in orchid bark as well. And I carry that to the sink and pour water, or I take it outside and get the hose pipe and flood the water through it. And they seem to like that way of growing in my house anyway, in my conditions. So Piper Chaba, Chui Jhal, and the third one is the Khasia paan, which is another type of beetle leaf, a smaller leaf variety, much smaller than the Bangla paan there. And this is one that I brought back from Bangladesh. This too is a cutting. I've got the parent plant over there, so I took a cutting because with all plants, you know, especially ones that are fairly rare in the UK, you're not easily going to be able to buy them here. It's best to take cuttings once your plants are actively growing, so you've got backup plants, because you never know, then they suddenly develop root rot and then Bob's your uncle, it's gone. So yeah, this one's doing very well. As I've just said about orchid bark, but I've actually transferred this from perlite into compost. So sometimes, you know, they will grow well. This, see the roots on that. So there's quite a lot of perlite in there's probably 70% perlite to 20%, so 30% compost in there. I was going to sell this plant, but I thought no, I need a backup plant just for, you know, safety reasons. You know, don't want to risk not having any plants to fall back on. So there we have it, Khasia, Piper Chaba and Piper Nigrum. If anybody's got any questions about how I grow these here in the UK, please add your comments in the comment box below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks very much for watching everyone. Take care. Bye bye.